guys, this is another overview video. This time it's my X32, and my X32 came in a box with this dust cover and I think a power cable. I think that's about it. But anyway, this is the X32 in all its glory. And gotta turn my mouse on. According to their website, it is a 40 input, 25 bus digital mixing console with 32 programmable Midas preamps, which are pretty nice. I mean, I've had a lot of experience with the X32, and they sound pretty good. As you can see, there is 16 faders here, 8 faders, and then 1 master fader. So 16 plus 8 is 24 plus 1, yep. So on their site it says 25 motorized faders. It says channel strip LCDs. These are what some people call scribble strips. You can label each channel and have a little icon that's nice to identify the channel with. 32 audio interface. I believe that's referring to the little the audio interface card on the back. It's a 32 IO, I believe. Touring grade road case. Now, this is not something mine came with, but it's a nice case anyway. But that's fine. I have a case that would probably fit this, and it's actually longer, so it'd probably fit a couple other things in it too. If I go to Google and type in full X32, you will get a selection of X32s, but mine retails for about $4,500. So I think that's what I paid for mine, just about. I may have found a deal. I think I got a deal on mine. Go back to Behringer's site and go back one. If you go to their X32 page, or digital mixers actually, you will find that they have a variety of X32s or digital mixers, 3 I believe of which different X32s. You got X32 Compact, which is a little smaller than this. It's I believe 8 faders on this side, and obviously 8 here, and then a master. There's a producer size, which is a little bit smaller even. Doesn't have as many controls on the side. Neither does the compact, but the full X32 has all the bits and pieces. And it looks like you can order it with or without the hard case. So I suppose that's a nice option in case you already have a hard case. And then you got the full X32 with the hard case, and it doesn't look like you can buy it from, or at least they don't have it listed on their site, without the hard case. And then of course they got the new wing, the new digital mixer, and it looks a lot nicer, but I have no idea what it's about. I don't know what things they've changed on it and whatnot, but I suppose that would be for another video. So, getting into the X32, this will be just an overview, basic functions and whatnot. Starting on my right side is some of the 32 XLR inputs, as well as the 6 in and 6 out auxiliary I/O plugs. As you can see, the 6 1/4" jack and the 6 RCA jack or coax, whatever you are used to calling those. And the 5s are linked together, so they have both the same input and output. So they are not individual inputs or outputs. Jumping up here is the rest of the 32 inputs. Here is, it's practically an SL, not an SLR. It's not a Mercedes. Right here is an Ethernet input or plug that you can plug a stage box into. So Behringer has an S16 and an S or P16, whichever letter they have, either a 16 or a 32 input, and that's 16 inputs and 8 outputs, or another 16 outputs and 32 input. What you have right here next to it is another Ethernet board practically. I think these are all Ethernet, they practically look like Ethernet cables. I know this one you can use an Ethernet cable on, but this is a personal monitoring input or connection, and that allows you to, if you're a singer on stage or whatever, to control your own monitoring mix, which is nice. And then you got your AES EBU output, which is a digital exchange over an XLR cable. Then you got your MIDI in and out. And who uses MIDI anymore? It's practically done over USB nowadays. Now, speaking of USB, you got your USB for remote control and Ethernet as well. And I believe the one at the church I run sound at, that is the port I plugged into to hook to a Wi-Fi box, and you can control it on an iPad on stage if you're trying to figure out a problem or whatever, or any other location for that matter. This is the audio interface card, and the cool thing about this is if this ain't good enough for you, if USB 2.0 speed ain't good enough for you, which I don't know, I guess Behringer thinks it is, you can upgrade to other cards. But yep, so you can plug your printer cable, as it were, into that, and that can go to your computer. And you can supposedly record 32 channels of audio input from these inputs here. And right above that is the 16 outputs that this digital mixer comes with. And it would have been nice to have the same amount of outputs as inputs, but hey, this is a great deal for what you get. And to get another 16, you just got to purchase the 16 output 32 channel Behringer Digital Snake that I was just talking about. Next to this is the output. Whoop-de-doo, right? Monitoring, control room output. So you get XLR outputs, which are nice for your long distance. If your speakers on stage are long distance from you, then it's nice to run it over XLR. You get less interference from other things, outside noise, because you practically can cancel it out with a transformer, which are usually built in. So, but you can also take a 1/4" jack and turn it into an XLR with a little DI box, and then turn it back into back into 1/4" if you don't have an output like this. But you also have these, which are unbalanced. These are balanced, hence you can cancel out all the external noise. Unbalanced 1/4" cables for your close monitor speaker monitors. For starters, the power button, not really a button, it's more of a switch, is back here, right next to the power input, and it takes a little bit to start up. Every time I turn an X32 on, that happens. So you gotta slide it back up or hold it there. It will knock against your finger, which isn't the greatest, but it realizes there's resistance, so it just stops, prevents it from destroying itself. And then I would push select and bring it up to wherever I want it. But anyway, that's another thing that does not matter. You can always just set it to about where you want it. Good thing about digital is you can select a channel and get so much information about each channel. And especially the master, you want to run about the same unless something dramatic has changed from week to week. So at the church I run sound at, I run it at like +6 or 7.2. It seems like a reasonably good place to keep it. So so you can view it on here. If you go to select, home, and layer 2. Something about digital mixers, you got to get in your mind. There's so many different layers. There's you know, you got your main 16 faders for all your channels. There's different layers, and of course nothing's changing right now because this is a blank default file. What do I call it? I call it default. The scene, there's scenes, and that's referencing to this would be great for theater and plays. You know, you got another play coming up. Okay, you just push a button, it sets all the settings for you. But actually, that changes some things. That layer is different than that layer, and this is actually can be viewed over here too. The bus masters. So lots of layers and layers within layers, and you just gotta take it slow and learn each layer and how to access it. So starting with 1 through 16, I suppose we'll keep it there. And on each channel, there's, depending on which window for each channel you're looking at, there are different windows, you know, for different functions of the channel, which we will get into. So right now, I have actually a demonstration prepared for you, and hence the microphone. This is a Audio-Technica AT2020, and if you look online, you will figure out it does require phantom power. Phantom power is 48 volts that runs through the mic cable from your preamp. If your preamp has it, I think 99% of all preamps have a phantom power built into it because it's pretty relevant technology. Having an amplifier in the microphone, you know, a third or so of the microphones out there have an amplifier in it. So it runs 48 volts all the way to the amplifier inside. Otherwise, if you don't have that, you won't be able to use it. With this camera up here, you can see that I am on channel 1. If I go to the preamp page or configure page, you'll see there's it's at 0 dB, but let's see, where is the phantom power? Well, I know where it is here. There's usually a button that corresponds from here to something on here. So I will push it right here. And now we don't have much signal. We don't have much gain right now, but actually the light right there. Okay, so the button over here, I don't know where it is. Usually there is one on the, maybe it's on the home. Yeah, okay, the home page has the phantom button you can click. Now, going back over here, you can see we are not getting any level, and I am talking right now, so we will just jack up the level, and hey, now we're getting signal. Now, general rule of thumb, I try to, go about halfway up the meter, keep it at about 18 if what we're doing is I'm talking, so we'll keep it about 18 for this demonstration. Now, this shows a little diagram of signal flow, and I guess the best analogy I have right now is for signal flow, it's kind of like a production line in a factory for making cars or whatever. You start with one thing, let's say the sound from my voice traveling to the microphone creating a voltage that goes through the cable all the way to the preamp, and the preamp boosts it, and after that it's one of many things it could be depending on what you select. See, this is another view of the signal flow. You can actually you can change the insert position, where it looks like two different places. So you can have it more at the beginning or more at the end. Insert is for external pieces of equipment, like an echo effect box or something like that, or an effects pedal, like a guitar pedal, something like that. So, that creates an analog signal from this digital signal. It sends it out to that piece of equipment, and then it sends it back, and then it reinserts it into the signal flow, or the signal chain. Next thing it looks like you can change is the dynamics, and yes, you only have two positions, before or after the equalizer. And other digital mixers may have more flexibility with that, but at least it gives you kind of what you prefer, what sounds best. It doesn't really matter how you do it as long as it sounds good. Of course, there's small problems you can run into along the way, but that's usually the general rule of thumbs. So, right now, we're getting signal here at the preamp. Nothing is showing up on the gate. That's because we have not activated it yet. And we will actually, for this digital mixer anyway, if you want to view something, you want to view the gate, for instance, which is what we're talking about right now. You just push the view button. It's great. Great idea. As you can see, I can't remember which way it goes, but this is an XY axis diagram of what's going on. And gates are kind of used sometimes, more rather for like, drums and whatnot. You don't want your snare drum lasting as long or whatever, so you gate it. You're practically telling it, the sound, to be quiet more after it gets to a certain level. So it's practically either it's inputs over outputs or vice versa. Now, as you can see, I am changing that right now, so we're not actually getting any output. Why are we not getting output? Okay, it's activated. Why are we not getting any signal over here? Maybe it's because of this. Yes, okay, it's because of that. We will keep that at 0 for now. And let's pay attention more to this. Okay, so this is the threshold. This says threshold. If I remember correctly, the more these light up, the more it's gating or quieting. Let's see if this changes anything. See, okay, it's practically not letting any. Actually, if we go back to the home, it's not letting any sound to the output. So it's completely gating everything practically, and duck mode. Literally, it says duck mode, and under the noise floor or under other things in the mix. I don't know exactly how to explain, the gate very well, but for those electronic people out there, it's kind of like it's like a diode. It takes 0.7 or so volts to activate and let voltage pass through. Trying to think of other analogies on the spot here. It's like you need your high school diploma to get into college. 11th grade won't do. It's kind of like a qualification. I'll probably be making more in-depth videos and more focused videos like preamp or duct or gate, more rather, dynamics, which is the compressor on board. So I will leave it at that for gate. If we go over to dynamics, actually moving the page selector button, changing this, will actually highlight the view button on the dynamics, which is kind of cool. So we will activate the dynamics right now, and now it is activated. And are we still getting sound? Yep, we are still getting signal to the output. So I'll go back to dynamics, and same thing. This graph, it's let's see, this is input, I know that, and this is output on these, because as you drop this down, it will follow the curve. Now the input will not change based on what you do with these settings, so these will stay the same, but this output will change. It won't be going all the way up. Let's bring the threshold down here. I'll talk a little quieter, and then I'll talk louder. As you can see, as I talk louder, it hits the threshold and starts gain reducting, or limiting the output. A compressor generally tries to make sound more even. It gets rid of the highs and brings everything down to about the same, or up to about the same. The way it can actually make things louder is you got the compressor taking off the loud parts, making the loud parts quieter, closer to like the middle, and then you're jacking up the gain afterwards. So it's kind of like a haircut, I suppose. You shave off all the high parts, and then you use some super Rogaine foam and grow the short parts. So you make the quiet things louder and the loud things kind of quieter, and hopefully it kind of is in the middle, more even sound. And just like, kind of backtracking here to the gates, there are attack, hold, release. Isn't there more? There's other things that I don't really use that often. And of course there's a threshold. So there's there's ratio as well, which is actually similar to the mode of a gate, but it's how quickly it not how quickly it activates. That's more rather the attack. And then the hold is how long it holds it, and the release is after it gets quieter, how long it releases the gain reduction. The ratio, well, if you got a 1.1 ratio on this particular compressor, or as close to 0 as possible, I guess, a 1-to-1, actually they would be. You have the same outputs versus inputs. If you start jacking up the ratio, then your input stays the same. Obviously, your output changes. So the louder you go, the more even it will be, and the more it changes, the more you use the compressor, the more it gain redux with a higher ratio. It's more like a limiter. It won't get any louder than this input, as you can see on the graph, and it can cause, you know, noticeable amounts of distortion. That's just stuff you got to worry about there and think about. Now this has a mix, so usually when you're talking about a mix setting on a particular effect or plugin or part of the signal flow, you usually can, it's like two roads, it splits off, and one's a bypass and one is the compressor, so it can mix. If I'm correct on this, I'm not actually 100% sure about that. It makes sense that would be it. Well, talking about this loud is doing, I probably won't be able to see a difference if I look at the output of the channel, but anyway, so that's pretty much the compressor. We'll try to make another video about that. Now this is the equalizer, and I would assume most people are generally familiar with the equalizer, and or an equalizer. I mean, most cars have an equalizer built in, a simple version of it. Now, part of the equalizer is actually kind of part of the preamp or configure settings, and that's the low cut. Actually, that's not activated, so you got to activate that, and then you can low cut, get rid of, you know, the lower frequencies. And if you click on high, then you have, is it 2 different modes? Okay, so it's 4 different modes of high cut you can do, and that can be pretty useful. You can, if that's all you need, that's all you need. You can cut the rest, right? So let's try a different mode then. Now this is almost like just a regular equalizer frequency band. You can go up, you can go down, you can narrow it, you can widen it, you can change the frequency almost everywhere practically everywhere you want. So that just turns it back into a regular band, frequency band. This is, I assume, the same thing, but perhaps a more wide version of it. So let's go back to that first one, and that's as wide as the first one goes, and that's as wide as the second one goes. So yeah, it's a wider band. It allows it to get wider. Now this is interesting. Oh no, actually that's only on the master. As you can see, there are 6 bands on this one, and on the channel there are only 4, not including the low cut. I suppose there's 5 technically. So if we go back to the main, as you can see, LR, left, right, that is the main output. Let's just bring it up here for the heck of it. So right now the low cut is selected, and to select number 5, you actually push both of these buttons, and let's say that number 1 is selected, the low cut. To select number 2, you select both of those. So that's a nice functionality of digital stuff. It's programmed that way to be pretty efficient with buttons and layouts and whatnot. And of course, the more firmware updates come out, the more efficient it gets, so that's kind of nice. Going back to channel 1 here, what do we got? Okay, we got to the EQ, insert. I don't know, that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't know. It's just a analog signal. It starts with a digital signal, and it turns it into an analog signal that you can send out to an external piece of equipment or whatever. heck, you could even run it into the right input or the left input or whatever of your computer, go through GarageBand or Pro Tools or whatever, do some effects on that. You want like some super EQing because you got like interference or whatever, you can do that and go out your headphone jack back into this and insert it into the signal chain. Now that pretty much describes everything in the signal flow. All the production of the car, as it were, putting every part on the sound, and then you have your finished product. But that's not everything that happens. If you go to sends, which is actually that one, you have 4 subgroups here for your 16 sends per channel. Well, 16 internal buses, and you got 4 rotary dials that can control the level of each send. So let's bring this up to just 0, I suppose. Now, obviously, you got rotary dials here to control each of them. Now, just quick here, to change, let's say you don't want 1 through 4, you want 5 through 8. Okay, you just push that button, so you can set 5 now. So it's pretty simple. You want 9 through 12, 13 through 16. You just select it, or you can just use the jumper rotary dial. That's pretty quick too. But going back to send 1 here, you have a couple options, some choices to make if you want. You can change 2 at a time. It looks like you can't just change 1. You got to change 1 and 2. So this is what, before the okay, so this is practically just when sound or audio signal gets to the preamp, it boosts it, then it immediately will take that sound and send it to bus 1, and then you can decide where bus 1 goes to. You want an external output to like a monitor on stage, or you want to record that on an external disk drive or whatever, or you send that to an effect. You can do whatever you want with it. That will not include all the changes that the gate, the dynamics, the EQ will have on the sound. That's pretty much everything in between here, or yeah, pretty much in between here. It will, obviously go up and down with the preamp, so you at least have signal. So that's in INLC. I don't know exactly what that stands for, but that's at least my first understanding it is. According to this diagram, though, it may actually be after this and before the EQ, which doesn't make sense. This looks like before the EQ, but then what's that? I'm pretty sure that's the input, though. That doesn't make sense. But before you use the EQ, you can actually test it, you can look at the level, if it's gain reducing with either of these. I suppose try with the gate first, and when you deactivate the gate, it changes the send level. Then you can know it's after the gate. Then you have to test the dynamics, same way. But yeah, so you got different settings here: post EQ, pre EQ. It actually labels it here: input LC. I would imagine that would just be like from the preamp, because that's the input, That's practically where the input is. But pre-EQ, post-EQ, post-fader, so after you, after this component of the signal flow, so after the output fader of the channel, not the master fader, but the output. And the thing is, when you're setting up sends and monitor mixes, you gotta pay attention to this, because if you put it after this fader and you think in practice, okay, so everything sounds good, the singer thinks it's fine, whatnot, but then when you're the day of the performance comes along, you think, oh, well, I got to turn them down a little bit. Well, you're turning down their monitor level too, so that's something you gotta keep in mind. Post fader and pre-fader. Okay, so pre-fader is before this, and then post fader. So you got quite a few options there. And then the next thing, not really in line, but the next thing that the whole channel has is obviously a right-left balance. That is right here. That's always activated unless you deactivate it, it looks like. If you deactivate, let's view this. If you deactivate, then you got mono, or is it just mute? Doesn't look like you have anything. Okay, so activate the stereo. That goes, this is the level right and left of the channel going to the main mix. So if you want to think about it this way, the pan knob is actually, in this case, two faders on the screen, and turn it to the left, the left one goes up, the right one goes down. So, and vice versa. And it's got a mono bus. If you got a mono speaker in your auditorium or a mono monitor in your studio, you can have that up as well, I guess. I don't know. If you got right and left, those are set up on every channel to go out of the box practically. With a stereo mix with two speakers, you can get a phantom center, so it doesn't really, I don't know, if you're, let's say, going to another room where there's only one speaker, maybe that'd be a good mono mix option for you. I'm sure there's other situations for that. So, let's move to the master channel for now, or next here. You know, you got the input of all the channels into this bus, and this is a stereo bus all in 1 meter. That's just how it's displaying it. Don't really worry about that. You do have right and left on this. Obviously, you don't have to select any settings usually. So you got the mix level of all the channels. Right now we only have one. And you got an insert. I believe you can change where that insert goes. Yeah. You can go post or pre-EQ and dynamics, or post-EQ and dynamics. You can switch the EQ and dynamics around. That's kind of cool, because you know, maybe the dynamics push down everything well. It just pushes down the highs just a little bit too much. So let's say you want to address that issue. You have the dynamics first, and then you EQ the highs up a little bit. So, you know, as I have it shown there, actually, the highs are a little bit higher than everything else. Is that not no, it's, so, you know, you go a wider one and just have all the highs up, or whatever your problem is that you want to address with that. I mean, the master buses, or master channel, the main channel, it's pretty straightforward. You got a threshold. Is that for the? I think that's for the dynamic compressor. But you can also access all the components of the signal flow of the main channel, the master channel as well. You can obviously activate them, which you want to do, change that however you want. The knee, okay, I don't remember that being on the, no, okay, it is, but all right, so let's just go back to this, to the master fader. The knee, as you can see, it sharpens or more smooths out the transition. So either you want, let's just sharpen the ratio there, or flatten it. So do you want it get up to a certain point, then boom, and it can't get any louder, or do you want it? I'm gonna go back to the other page. Or do you want it to be a little more smoothened out? And it starts limiting, a little more, and then it kind of flattens out. I would prefer a nice smooth knee, unless you want something dirty and trashy, you know, like heavy rock, something or another, that like some distortion and whatnot, and it kind of sounds muddy and messy. I don't know. I most of the time I just set it at 5 and call it good. Usually don't have it set like a limiter though. It is okay, here we go. Usually I have it like that, and then on each channel I have it pretty smoothed out, not totally limiting it to. Suppose if it's your first time with a compressor, you know, just slowly get closer and closer to limiting instead of just going totally to limiting it. I don't know. Maybe you have more success that way. I believe that's it. You do have matrix sends, which is interesting. So let's try to get a select the sends. Now this is six sends, and you can change the place at where you capture it from this signal chain, not from any other channel signal chain, from the master channel, the right and left channel. Now, why would you want 6 sends? Oh, I don't know. Maybe you want to run a subwoofer off of this one, or this is you know, controlling your lobby volume, or your nursery volume, or this is going to, both of these are going to your right left live stream, or to, you know, to the radio station. I don't know. You know, you got that option if you choose to, though, so that's nice to have. Well, let's say you want to save all the changes, and I'm not going to, but you click save, you'd make up all that, you would you know, you'd name the scene, or select one that let's see, you just highlight one of them, save over top of it, but I don't want to do that right now, so I'm not even going to save this even. So you'd name your scene, put some notes in there if you want. Interesting keyboard. You push save, you'd click it, you know, just like any other one of these, and then you push the yes, right page select button. And in this little scene selection panel, you got view, obviously. You got previous, next, undo, and go. And go, I believe, is like similar to load a scene. Undo will help, I assume, undo a setting that you just made or saved. Previous setting, next setting. I haven't even used these, and that's not changing anything I thought it would. But there's a home page. I don't know what that does. I don't use that really. I assume it may give you a better overview than scenes, but I use scenes. That's about all I use. Snippets, I believe, like you can save a specific setting. If we go back to scenes for a second here, you can save a lot of scenes. I'm still going. Okay, 99 scenes on here, so that's pretty good. Now snippets, like I was saying, I think it's you can save particular settings, like, oh, pastor so-and-so, the singer so-and-so, or whatever. I like starting out with a particular EQ for them, where it cuts this and cuts that, and then I work off of that. Every time they're on stage, I have to do that. Okay, might as well save it as like a template setting. And apparently you can have 99 of these too. 99 snippets. I don't use snippets. I assume it's that. And according to these options here, I believe that's what it is. Don't take my word for it on that though. But I believe this mixer does have that feature. I'm not completely sure. This might not be a particular setting in like EQ or anything, but it might be a routing setting, way to save them, way to save routing settings. I might have to read up on that and figure out exactly what these are. It's parameter safe, or saving parameters, I guess is what the point of that name is. Next one's channel save, or chan save. I don't know what that does exactly. And then there's MIDI save, which who uses MIDI anymore? Some people, if you're in a studio. As we move down a little bit, there's assignment section, and I don't use this either, but I do kind of know what it is. So let's say we got channel 1 selected, and we got the EQ selected. Is that, well, I know these change from channel to channel, but I have nothing set up on any of the channels, so nothing's going to change. These kind of will help you change, like, it's kind of like a hotkey kind of thing. If there's a setting you change often on a channel, or on a lot of your channels, you can just select your channel and then change them. I believe that's what it is. That's my experience with it. I have used them and not really liked using them. I just don't use them. But that was my experience for using them. Okay, so if you push view, you can actually set the different kinds of settings per channel, if I understand this correctly. Now there's 3 sets, A, B, and C. Yeah, okay, so those change as you're doing that. A, B, and C. Alright, so C's not even set up. But actually, set A is decay, which is like an echo effect, part of echo settings. So, which I don't have set up on here right now. So that makes sense why it didn't show up. If I go to set B, that should be dynamics, which should change. Yeah, they change now. Yeah, from channel to channel. But if you want to set your presetting controls or whatever with that, that's how you do that. Values, huh? Yeah, so this knob corresponds with that knob. Edit. Okay, so you go into these other 3 layers and change target type, effect slots, parameters, what parameter of the effect, you know, what effect on which yeah, okay, so which effect you're changing. So it's kind of a, you know, like I said, a hotkey, but I don't have much experience with those. I don't really use them that often, almost ever. Next thing down, and this is kind of out of order, but actually the last thing at the bottom here is the mute groups. So if you're going to set mute groups, you just click the little mute GRP, and let's see, oh, okay, all right. So let's say you want to set up mute group 1. You hold that, and you select all the channels you want to mute. Now, if let's say all 7 or so singers are just making a ruckus, I just mute them all. Oh, well, actually, I gotta unselect mute group, and then I can use it. So it just muted all 7 channels there, and you can set up 6 of these mute groups. So I don't know. I can't think of an exact situation where you'd use that, but I'm sure you could. Okay, I guess, like, let's say you got like a singer group with a band and some other instruments and whatnot up there on stage, a whole band and a singer group, and you're in a play or something. Singers get done singing, you mute them because they're going to be like moving other things around or leaving the stage. You don't want to hear them leaving the stage. You could just mute them. So I don't know, it's a nice feature. Second to last thing on the board here is the monitoring, which is about half of it's analog, actually. So this is an analog knob, and this is right after this and before the 2 main XLR outputs on the back here. So this is, well, probably analog, actually. I don't know. It could be digital, but it doesn't seem like it's digital. It doesn't have to be, really. So you got right and left signal here, or at the end of the main right-left channel bus, and you got to convert that to analog at some point anyway, and the digital to analog converter usually has an amplifier in it, and this is the output knob for that. Could be the feedback knob inside the amplifier, but I don't know how they wire those. So this will control the analog output of your speakers in case, you know, you bring this all the way down and still you have signal. What the heck? Okay, you can just turn that down. Or, you know, you can leave that here for if you want to and just adjust that or something. It gives you that option. Headphone jack level. I believe these are paired, so you can hear the direct output, what's going to your main speakers, and the jacks are in the end caps here where the handles are. So you want to plug your headphone in, and then your assistant can plug his headphone in, and you guys can jab around about how great it sounds. It sounds fantastic. And so at the bottom here, there's a view button, so let's click it. You have TalkBack A, which is, oh, no, actually, you just got monitoring. So this allows you to create a delay and actually gives you a little tape measure for it, practically. Gives you how many feet of delay. So let's see, why would this be useful? Well, I know like a monitoring channel. Let's say we go to bus 1. Oh, maybe that isn't. Maybe I don't have that option. Okay. Well, with sound travels at a certain rate, about, I don't know, 700 feet per second, or miles an hour actually. It's miles an hour. And let's say you have 2 different sets of speakers. So let's say you got a external mix, or a mix on here with bus 1 and 2, let's say, going to another set of speakers in your auditorium that are, I don't know, closer to, no, farther away. Let's say farther away than your main speakers. So it'll take longer distance, or take more time from that second set of speakers versus your main set of speakers to get to you. It'll take longer for that sound to get to you. So let's say your monitor, your main speakers, well, let's say they're 30 feet closer to you. Well, then you dial this up to 30-foot delay, and it should be almost identical sound. No echoing, no delay. It should sound perfect if you measure it correctly. So there's that. I thought this was on every channel, but I guess it's not. I don't know. It's been a long time since I looked at that page. There's a talkback A. So let's see, is it this one? This goes to the next section actually. Okay, there's a talkback A button. Now actually there's a mic built in here. Is it hello? No, it's probably not. Okay, external mic maybe? Hello? Hello? Let's see. Of course you got a lamp plug and a lamp dimmer. Let's turn that off. There's no reason for that to be on. Because I don't have a lamp on there. A 12-volt, 5-watt lamp plug there. It's almost like an XLR, except it has 4 pins instead of just 3. You got a talk level and an auto dim. By pushing dim, it will, I think it cuts your main speakers down by 12. It's set at 10 now, but it was 11 dB. That's kind of a nice thing. Let's try talkback B then. Low, nothing. No, I don't know. It's been a while since I looked at this too. You got talkback A, talkback B. You got external mic. Okay. That must be that one then. So where's internal mic? Low. No. Talkback A, talkback B. Huh. Anyway, that takes a little bit of setup. Next section is an oscillator, which is nice if you're trying to find what frequency something on stage rattles at, or what frequencies to avoid going through your sound system because it distorts pretty bad. Of course you won't hear anything, but this is well, this is negative 40 dB, which is almost nothing, but it's at 100 hertz. You get 2 frequencies actually. You get 1,000. You can set this at whatever you want, but the first one's at 100 hertz, and this one's at 1.6 kilohertz. 1.06 kilohertz actually, and all you gotta do is push this little encoder to change from frequency 1 to frequency 2. You have a sine wave you can select. which is, I assume, a pure sine wave, or you have pink noise and white noise. Now, with this, you want to figure out where to send it. So you have 1 through many buses to select it. 1 through 16 buses, you can put it into the left, the right, or both. Let's just mute my microphone over here. As you can see, I muted it, and it's still has signal, and it's from the signal generator. As you can see, I'm turning up the signal generator, and the meter keeps on going up. Well, that's white noise. Let's try pink noise, see if it moves around. No, not really. Let's go to sine wave. And that really doesn't do anything either. But you can do MC, or middle center. I believe that's what it is. It's that, if you go back to here, select a channel. It's that mono one, I believe. Going back to the oscillator, you got matrix 1 through 6, and that's it, actually. So you could send it to quite a bit of outputs and whatnot. I suppose the only section I haven't done is this screen select section. Let's turn off the generator for now. Let's turn back my mic so you can at least see some cool flashing lights. So you got home of whatever channel you're on. Can be a bus send channel. It can't be a group channel, which that's another thing. Okay, so you get 8 faders. Let's say you have this, let's use this example again, 1 through 7, like 7 singers on stage or whatever. You want to control, this is good for that guy, that's good for that guy, whatever, you know. And that guy's going to be really loud because he's a really quiet person or woman. So DCA groups 1 through 8 is selected. Let's say we want to control all of those with 1 fader. Control the average level of all of them on 1 fader. So let's select number 1, of course. Select, and this is the nice thing about digital stuff. So that will control. So you got your individual mix of this group at whatever you're setting it at, right? Then you got another, and it actually won't go up until I put some volume into that. So this will control all 7 of these faders, which is a nice feature. You got 2 choir mics. You can throw that on a fader. You have a right and left AV input that you're playing music from, or accompaniments or whatever. You got a whole group or drum set. Hey, drum set's a very good example. You usually have like at least 4 or so mics on a drum set, if not like a lot more. So you can assign all those to 1 fader, which is nice. So that's the only one you can't select channels other than doing this to add them to the group. So home will give you an overview of that, and then you can go through all the different pages. Metering, if you want to see all the metering within this machine, this piece of equipment, you can just push meter. Yeah, as you can see, we have only 1 channel in use. Excuse me. Want to see the mix buses, internal mix buses that are digital channels practically, digital sends to wherever. You can see that there's 1, but the fader isn't up on it. So, okay, yeah, it is up actually. Thus there is signal. And like I was saying, gain reduction in the dynamics of each bus. If we go go back to channel, we have some gain reduction on channel 1, which is this mic, but yeah, that's kind of cool. I mean, oh, what's getting compressed too much and distorting, making some weird distorting noise. You look on here, oh, that one's being gain reducted all the way down. It might be that one. So you got your main mix, your center mix. Of course, MC hammer is all the way down on that one. You got some gain reduction on the main bus, you know, the master fader. You got your matrix. You got gain reduction for all that, of course, on there. Aux sends. Is that for, let's go back to home here. I don't think that's for that. Huh. I believe aux sends are the outputs. Oh, that's right. 5 and 6 are linked, or can be linked to the output, to the main fader, to the main bus. So that must be the case there. Auxiliary return, there's input, the quarter inch and RCA inputs there. Now with this, it's kind of a funky thing. Maybe this is common for digital mixers, but you gotta make a send to an effect. Let's say, well, this one's 13, so you want my voice to run through this vintage room effect. So you turn up the send level on bus 13, that starts picking it up. You gotta create a return, or at least turn up the volume on the return, and that is those, I believe. So you gotta send it to one of those. You gotta send it to a place anyway after it goes there. So that's just showing you that. This shows you, I believe, the total I/O of the whole board. At least you got your 32 inputs there. You got 16 outputs on board, and of course you got an option for another 16 at least. Actually, going back to here, oh, that doesn't tell me, does it? Going back to their website here. Well, you got 40 inputs. That can be from the auxiliary inputs, I believe. Well, obviously there's auxiliary returns that you can use as inputs. Oh, you do have, that's not over here. Okay, so if you go here, you got auxiliary, these are up actually. You got auxiliary inputs, ins, yep, auxiliary ins / USB FX returns. Now these are the FX returns. You got right and left, 4 sets. Yep, 4 sets of right and left. So returns from 4 effects. It looks like you can do. And actually, that's why. Oh, those are up, but well, these are muted. Now they're not. And they're linked because right and left, right? So yeah, so all you gotta do is push one of the sets, and they both mute or unmute. So that's that. That are these. Oh, interesting thing about digital stuff. All you gotta do is move one of the faders, and the other one follows because they are individibly linked. They cannot be separated. Now you got AES EBU, send. I've never used that. Never had to, I guess. I don't know. It's there if you need it. If you're just really into it. Now, this is, an RTA spectrograph, whatever you want to call it, of the equalizer. And actually you get that if you go here, you get a smaller version. But if you go back to metering, I believe you can view this on any channel. Yeah, you can view this on any regular channel. I don't know if, obviously you can't view it on a group, but a send, yeah, you can view it on sends. So auto mix, I've never used this either. Auto mix group weight, I would imagine that's weighing one channel over another. Isn't that what a mix is? But apparently it does it by itself because it's auto. Input channel, I have no experience with that. Don't know what that is. We go to routing, then we can select, these are the inputs, sets of 8 all the way up to input 32, and you can select where they come from. As you can see, they're already pre-selected from local, 1 through 8, 9 through 16. The audio jacks on the back is what those are. Those are local inputs. AES, I think, let's see, okay, you can go farther down, but card 1 through 8, I'm not sure which card they're talking about, because there's only one card on here, but there's 4 card options. Maybe you can upgrade to 4 cards, I don't know, but there is a way that you can plug an Ethernet cable into the back of this, and I believe maybe that is over AES. I can check that real quick. AES 50. Okay, A and B. Okay, so AES 50. Okay, all right, this makes sense. Yeah, AES 50, 1 through 8, 9 through 16, all the way to A goes up to 48. So apparently you can expand this quite a bit. And then there's another Ethernet port for AES 50B, 1 through 48 as well. And that is the S16 and S32, or hang on, I think I can find it. It's either S or P, 32 or 16, and that's the stage boxes. Well, if you're so curious, you can look on Behringer.com, or Google will tell you, and figure out what those boxes are called. I think they're S16s. I think some other company uses B or P's. So anyway, moving on, get your outputs. You're going to assign analog output 1, for instance. What category do you want? You want to select from the mix buses? Okay, sure. Then you can select mix bus 1, 2, all the way to through the. Okay, as you scroll down, it scrolls down through the categories as well. So you want 1 through 16 of the mix buses? Fine, sure. So on channel 1, you have send 1, getting signal from channel 1 because we turned it up. Go back here, we select channel 1, boom, output 1 on the back here. I believe there's only 16, right? Yep, there's 16 analog outputs on the back of here that you can plug into and run sound to. So you want the main mix bus right and left or center, you can do that. If you want an extra set of main speakers or whatever, you can do that. You can go from the mix bus or matrix buses direct out. I believe there's a way to set a channel to have a direct out. Maybe it's in, no, I am in configured already. Maybe that's part of the insert. I don't know, actually. Let's see. Not that way anyway. Direct out. Oh, of channel 1. Okay, so either that's, isn't there a diagram here? No. If you look online, you can find where exactly this direct out is coming from. It might be the direct out symbol, I don't know. But it's coming from somewhere here, if it's channel 1 direct out. I would imagine it's either right after the output or right after the input. Nowhere in between, I would guess. So you got direct outputs, or you can select monitors. Monitor right or left. Isn't that, that's probably part of, I believe it's part of the main right-left bus. Oh, no. It's probably one of these then. Monitor. Oh, yeah, okay, so that is part of the right-left bus, or as you can see on this side, you can do right-left bus, right-left plus middle center, post fader level, after fader level, auxiliary 5, 6, 7, or 8. So you can select those, you got some options there. Going back to routing. Okay, here we go. Alright, so you can actually delay. I thought it was on the channel, but you can actually delay the output of your output 1, or if you go, well, whichever output you want to use. So let's say in this case you have your main speakers. That's just not good enough for you. You got to add some more, but you want to add them a little closer or something like that. So you could dial up the amount of feet closer they are as the delay, or if you have a reason to use that for monitors, I suppose, yeah, you can do that too if you want. Auxiliary outputs, those are the 6/4 inch outputs on the back. You can select the category of output, of course. You can select the exact output source, just like the other ones. And here, you can actually tap into the signal chain wherever you want. So, you want right before EQ, right before EQ plus, whatever M means, I don't know, I think that's middle. I don't know why that would be. Post EQ plus M, you know, all that. Ultranet, I don't use that. Oh, this is for the monitoring, that's right. So you can set up, I assume, monitor mixes on here, and set the source of the monitor mix and where you can tap it. The card, now this is as a 32IO USB card. It's called XUSB, and it's USB 2.0, I believe, which is not fast, but apparently it's good enough for 32IO according to Behringer. I guess maybe they have streamlined their USB technology. I don't know. But you can set where you can what the inputs you're accessing or outputs. Well, actually, outputs. It says outputs here. So, you know, which set of I/O you're accessing. Do you want to use the digital snake instead? And I guess you could use, if the digital snake is connected to this over Ethernet, you don't have to use it for your main set of channels, you know, your 32 channels, but you could use it as your interface for your DAW or recording software. So that's interesting. AES50A gives you routing options for that. I don't know why you'd want to change that though, but okay, so it says P16. Is that for, yeah, okay, so that's for the monitoring. So for their personal monitor setups, it's called P16. So it must be S16 for their digital snakes. And then AES50B, same thing. And then your XLR outputs. Of course, it's just set as out 1 through 4 all the way up to 16. Doesn't say local outputs though, which would be the ones on the back. I don't know. I don't know why it's not named that. So that pretty much covers that. Set up, I think it's pretty much explanatory. Of course, I'm running an older firmware because I wanted to make a video about how to update this, and that's going to be a very short video. I will tell you that now because it is so easy with this USB slot there. So that kind of gives you some information about the firmware. It gives you an option to reboot, update firmware. I guess if it's not initializing the normal way, you could do it that way with having on the flash drive there. You can shut down. Shows that I'm running at 44.1 sample rate. I don't know, that's the bare minimum for sample rate. I don't ever go any higher because it just pushes your gear harder, and I don't notice any difference. And a lot of people would probably agree. You can synchronize with the expansion card, or your digital snakes. I'm not sure if you just have internal, if everything's syncing to this, then that must be the case. Almost everything has to be pretty much close to synchronized. Should be. Anyway, that I don't use. I don't know what that would do. Anyway, you can set your date, time, your time, date, year, whatever. Main LCD brightness. That's this, of course. Maybe your eyes are a little sore, so you want to run it down a little bit. Your LED lights, that's your scribble strips, all your buttons. I believe actually it's your hello, yeah, it's your meters as well. So let's just leave that at about 50% or so. Channel LCD contrast, yes. So do you want them all bleached out, or do you want them hard to see? So I don't know, leaving it a little bit in the middle there is good too. Configure, confirm pop-ups. I don't know, I don't really deal with any of that. There's nothing in here I would change. Panning mode, It usually comes set up with the most common settings because, you know, it'll make most people the most happy. So, remote control settings, for like MIDI controllers and whatnot. Like I said earlier in the video, who uses MIDI? I don't anyway. Now this is an IP address, subnet, mask, gateway. All this is for setting up the iPad remote or tablet remote. You can use your phone even if you want, but you gotta, select a certain number or whatever and have it match a couple things. And there's videos online that'll help you walk you through that. It's not too hard. You just got to make sure all those numbers are correct. Scribble strips. Hey, these are fun. So you got channel 1 selected. Let's say I'm being such a drum today, so we'll put, I don't know if you can see that. Let's select, you can do that. Select channel, or mix plus 8. You can actually change the little graphic here. Let's say I want to be cool dude with wacky hair. And let's say I want to be more yeller today. Okay? And then if I want, I can change the name to cool dude. So you can kind of customize it like that. Of course, oh, you want cool dude on this page? What about the other page? You can change it there if you want to. Yeah, you can change that too. So that's kind of a fun thing to play around and, bring out your inner immaturity. Preamp controls, it just gives you an overview of all your preamps. This is channel 1. I got that 48 volts I was talking about on. So I just reselect it. And it's at 45.5 dB of gain to capture my voice at a reasonably high level. So, yeah, that's kind of boring stuff, but you can go through all your internal internal on this machine preamps and then internal preamps on your S16 or S32 digital snake. Those have built-in preamps as well. So now you can run this USB card in 32 IO mode, 16 IO mode, 32 input, 8 output. You can run, or vice versa, 8 IO or 2 IO. So it gives you flexibility. I don't know why you'd want to run less, because you just leave it on 32 and you got all the access to all your IO, and that's just the most flexible and easy to use, I would say. So that's the end of that section. You got library. Now these may be pre-loaded settings for. Okay, this is actually a little diagram of a channel strip. So I don't use these. I just customize the channel strip to what I think sounds best. But let's say you got a BBM bass too, coming into the studio. Set or load preset to whatever channel, channel 1. So so that's HA config. Let's click on scope. I don't know. Like I say, I don't use these at all, so I don't know much about them, but that is pretty much what it is. Let's try loading. Load preset to current channel, which is current channel 1. Yes. Okay, so things changed. That definitely changed, I know that. These were activated, and no settings on them now. Let's go back to library. So that was that might, I don't know what that is. Well, it changed the EQ anyway, and apparently something else. So it'll change something, and it'll change the little scribble strips. So luckily I'm not saving this, so I don't care if it changes that. This is the library of all your effects. or this is presets of the effects you have. These are the actual effects in place on the effects, which we'll get to in a little bit here. Routing, preset library for routing. So let's say you're going up to whatever city, and you saved preset settings for routing. You can select that if you're going back to a place you've been to and you want to use those settings, I guess. So, so especially if, like, you know, the gig you're going to has a stage, digital snake installed. You just plug in, set those, set it to use that, and you're all set. You almost don't have to plug any more cables in. So presets are nice, even though I don't use them. Effects. Now this gives you an overview of all 8 effects that you have in place, and this is effect 1 through 8, and you can go through them all. If you go back to home, or if you click this, that'll bring you back to home as well. You can select different effects through this. Actually, if you push utility, utility, it will give you a list of all the different kinds of onboard effects and stuff like that. So that's nice. Select FX or load. I'm not sure which one you'd load. That might be what I already have. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of cool. Mute group, we already been over that. Utility, let's see if yeah, you can. Okay, so all these preamps I've been talking about, or presettings, you can click utility and access them in whatever window you're at. So you're thinking, man, I can't compress this or EQ this darn drummer guy, you know, that I remember being able to before. Well, let's just push utility and look through these. Oh, hey, darn drummer guy. Hey, I'll load that one. So, yeah, preamps are nice, or presets are nice. Preamps are nice as well. So, there actually is one more little section I haven't talked about, and that is the USB recorder. So, what you do is you slide a USB drive in there, hopefully empty, so you don't mix up files and whatnot, and push, not that button, you push record, and of course there's no USB in there right now, but it'll allow you to push record if there is, and record from, at least for now, it would be main left and main right. So, which is this signal here, the record input level. And you can stop it, you can play it, you can rewind, fast forward. It's got a cute little tape thing there. We go over to configure, we can actually select what we're recording, the signal source. So we can record from channel 1 or whatever. And we can trim left and right. Single file, single or folder. So yeah, we got a little bit of settings there we can fiddle around with for the USB recorder. And like I was saying, this port also allows you to update the firmware, so it's kind of a multi-purpose thing. Well, guys, other than this being a little holder for your phone, which is kind of nice, except phones are so big now that they hardly fit in there, that's about it for the overview. Kind of a long overview, probably one of my longest videos so far. So if you guys like this, like it, share, subscribe, all that helps channel. Hopefully you're having a good day, and you learn a lot from these videos.